Hey there, American Horror Story fans. We are talking about the finale of Season 9, American Horror Story 1984. We're talking about the final girl. And guys, it may be over, but as long as you remember us, the 80s will never die.
I'm Maria Menounos, and you're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the American Horror Story After Show here on AfterBuzz TV. I'm your host, Elena Jordan, and today we are talking about the finale of American Horror Story 1984. Cheers.
I know.
Season
It came by so
9,
fast.
Episode 9, Final Girl. But I am not the final girl here. I am joined by my full panel of awesome co-hosts.
Right.
Ollie Drennan, straight out of our dreams.
I'm the final girl. No, I'm the final boy. Yes. Very excited to talk to you about the episode tonight. It was very interesting. Very interesting. I'll say that.
Yeah.
There's a lot to unpack behind that look.
Yeah. And we're not just talking about Trevor, that's for sure.
There goes somebody's packing. And the incomparable Kayla Renee.
Yes. You guys, I was sick last week, you guys, but I'm feeling so much better. So I'm
Yeah.
so
We're
glad.
so glad that you were back too. It
So
would have
glad.
felt very, very sad and
I
empty
know.
without.
I could have missed the
Right.
finale.
I know.
Not at all.
Also, we are very Christmas over here. You and
Yeah,
I.
I'm like,
We didn't
all
plan it that
colors.
way. Talking about Halloween night, and you guys are like, it's November.
Next holiday.
November 1st.
Next holiday.
Oh my
And
gosh.
of course, the always happy, keeping us
Always happy,
Miss
happy
Cappy.
Alexa
Cappiello.
Cappiello. And this episode was fun. I'm excited to talk about it. I can't believe it's the finale. It's the
I can't
finale.
either.
I cannot believe.
It's the end.
I know.
Oh,
I don't know why I went full Italian there. but
I liked it though. I liked it. And of course, because this is the finale, we will be giving our normal predictions, but it'll be a little bit different because we'll be predicting what we think next season might be. So be sure to stick around for the whole episode because, of course, we'll be breaking down this episode, giving our opinions, talking about what we liked, what we thought could have been improved.
Absolutely.
And then also we have our special segment, Slash Book. For the
Yes.
final time. We're splashing back for the final time tonight. Also a little news and
That sound
gossip for you
effect.
guys too. But before we dive into the episode, what were your overall thoughts on this, the finale?
Oh, don't forget the chat. Don't forget the chat, you guys. Look, hey,
Yes.
I'm guarding the chat, you guys, so don't forget to talk to us in here. and
Yes,
then tell us
talk
your
to
predictions,
us.
too. So we'll shout those out at the end. So, yeah.
Yeah, chat duty, just like they were watching over.
You held it down last
Yes.
week.
No,
Yes. She's the
Richard.
Margaret
Oh, yeah,
that
so
lurks in the
yeah.
background.
Chat duty. We have to rotate sometimes.
Okay, but what did you guys think of this episode? We'll start with you, Alexa.
Wow. Okay. No, some of you guys said the final girl is going to be both Rita and Brooke, and I saw this moment the episode started. I was like, that's probably going to be what happens, and I'm glad that it happened that way. I'm glad that there were two final girls. I liked it. I thought there were some really good fake out moments. I was like, Brooke is dead. What the? And then she's like still alive, and that was cool. And how the ghosts all conspired to just like be a cool ghost army to like, avenge everyone.
My new band name is Cool Ghost Army.
I thought that was pretty epic and a lot of fun. There were a lot of really cool quotes like "Truck Stop Cyndi Lauper." I thought that was awesome. There were a lot of really awesome like
album.
great quotes in this episode. You kind of look like Truck Stop Cyndi Lauper right now.
Damn.
No, listen, Montana was called that, so it's a compliment. She redeemed herself. I think she redeemed herself, and also Ray redeemed himself too.
Oh, Ray.
That was cool.
A little
you.
redemption.
Yeah, Ray redemption.
That was a good one. That was a good one.
It
No,
wasn't, but you guys are nice.
we love it. We love it. We love all the little puns. No, but bouncing off of Alexa, I totally agree with everything. This episode, I kind of loved it, but at the end, I was like, we'll get into that. But it's like, I feel feel like it could have been a little more. But like when I was here for all of them killing it, because I predicted that earlier. I was like, I know they're gonna all come together to kill Margaret, so I was here for that. But I definitely thought Donna was gonna be the final girl, but I actually liked that it was two. So yeah, I was here for it. But yeah, I'm so excited to unpack everything.
Dude, Donna and Brooke aged flawlessly.
I know, right?
Sorry.
She's like talking about fillers. I'm like, okay, girl.
I was like, way to play it off. Like, I got a really great husband who's a dermatologist. I was like, you look the same that you did 30 years ago. Y'all just beautiful makeup,
They, like,
whatever.
at least they felt the need to have her explain why she looks so good. I was just like,
Because everyone was like, because they didn't want to be like, Emma Roberts refuses to put on old age makeup.
It was 30 years. My goodness.
damn, she looks
That
good.
would have made them what, like 50s?
Yeah.
They're in their 50s.
Right.
Yeah, and
damn.
he even says that, like, to Montana at the
Yeah.
beginning. He's like, you'd be in your 50s. So everyone is very aware of how old they
Wait, so
should look.
wait, so Donna/Rita should be like 60, right? Because wasn't she older?
Yeah, I
than
know.
us?
I was like,
Oh my
shut up.
gosh.
Get out of here.
Donna looks
They put, like,
amazing for
true
60.
crow's
though.
feet right here. And they're like, look, bitch is broken.
Some little wrinkles.
Get out of
Her
here.
little wrinkles.
No. I like that like certain characters got happy endings. I think actually some of the characters did, even though they were, some people didn't get happy endings. We'll talk about it. But I do kind of am upset that some of the characters didn't get like closure. Like I felt like Chet was like, what was the point of him being there?
What the hell was
Like,
that?
So he
Even
could
Birdie.
make out with Birdie.
I know.
gonna say, like,
And I was
even
like,
Birdie.
I'm hot for the lunch lady.
He was so underutilized, and I think
I
Ray.
will say, though,
Ray
we were upset that they weren't showing Birdie, and we were all like, oh, well, where's Birdie? Where's
Yeah.
Birdie? Well, I'm glad Birdie got some. I'm sorry. I was here for
She
it.
came
I
back
guess.
to
She
get
got a
some.
little lip action.
It was cool to see kind of everyone come back, and I think this episode kind of stood for just like 80s and just like nostalgic culture kind of resurfacing, and it dies sometimes, but every now and then it's like a cycle. It'll come back, and so
Yeah.
I think this is what the season kind of stood for and what it represented. So
The
I
80s
think
will
that
never
it
die.
accomplished its goal. It's the mission that it set out to portray.
I think it did, but I think it could have done it better. Like
I
if
still
we had
feel like
one
we
more,
have unanswered
if we
questions.
had one more episode, like 9 just didn't seem complete. But
No,
I liked it. I enjoyed the episode. Regardless, but I just wanted more. I just wanted one more episode, y'all.
I think that's a good point because this is the first time we've ever had 9.
Right.
And it originally was, I think, supposed to be 10, and that has always been the shortest amount up until this point.
Really?
And it was like, yeah.
I felt like they dragged this out long enough. Like I've been waiting
Really?
for this. Like
Really? Because,
just tie it
okay,
all up.
We'll dive into the episode now, but my just kind of overall thing was I was like, you have set up so much about this festival. And
Exactly,
then it
that's
was just
the
like,
one episode,
hey,
yes,
don't
right.
worry about it. And then like the whole episode is even like, oh, and then that fateful night of what happened.
Yeah.
We're like, what happened? And
Did
they're
the concert
like,
ever
not
start?
much. And we're like, what the hell then? What? And they're like, but look how happy Finn Whitrock looks. And we're like, I mean, okay, fine. I guess I'm okay with that. But damn, like,
Also,
all right.
okay, Jingles disappears for 30 years and then just
Appeared out of
shows
nowhere.
up.
I mean, that
Bobby,
makes sense.
'cause
That
Bobby.
makes sense because Bobby.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that I was like,
Yeah,
okay.
but like, where did he go?
But it's like the
Where did he go? I don't know.
He was under the
other
sea.
realm. He was in like the
underrealm.
the good part of purgatory, basically. Like they're
Oh.
in purgatory.
So
but,
purgatory has a heaven and hell, I guess.
Like, it's like it's the hidden part. He's just staying the hell away from everybody's
Behind
drama.
LA
He's like,
lines.
I'm here with my mom. I'm here with my brother. We've been looking for my brother the whole time. We know that the brother can stay hidden. This has already been established. So this didn't
Okay.
bother me because
Oh.
this all fell within the realms of what has been established for this world.
Right,
They
and
didn't
also
break any.
no, that makes sense because his mom is kind of like the overseer.
Yeah,
she
and
protects him
Lavanya like shows
from
up
everyone.
whenever she feels like it. Like if
Yeah.
she's like, if this is directly related to my family, fine. If y'all are just banging and hanging out, I'm gonna go be by the river. Don't worry about this. Like this is my lake time.
And they're all afraid of her, you know.
That's true.
So
I
we
mean,
know
she
that.
is
That's
a
been established.
scary ass.
She
Like,
definitely is scary. Woman in white, I don't know why, it's scary. It's always scary.
It is.
It kind of gave me oh my god, I'm gonna butcher the name. It's like La Llorona.
La Llorona.
Yeah, that. I'm like,
La
wasn't she like
Llorona.
a protector of like her kids and stuff like that, or like she wanted her kids?
Well,
What was
La
the story of
Llorona
that?
was
'Cause I
that
kinda felt like
she drowned her kids, and then to like make up for like it was like an accident. Then she was upset, and it was like a
okay.
whole thing. And so now she goes and steals people's kids. So if you don't, it's like a cautionary tale of like
I
watch
kinda-
your kids, or La Llorona is gonna be like, I gobble up babies because I'm a baby gobbler.
she kind of gave me those kind of vibes. Like it was like a creepy mom in white, and she's
Yeah.
just like haunting everybody at the camp.
I mean, they had some cool stuff. We'll dive in first. We'll talk about Bobby. Because this whole thing has been about like, okay, what is gonna be the situation with Jingles and his kid, and all of this has been like, what is going to happen in this moment?
Yeah.
Is he going to be safe? Is Ramirez going to go to Alaska? And from the beginning, like, they're like, hey, all of those suspenseful things we set up, don't even worry about it. Trevor's dead, and Montana's dead, and also here's Bobby. And I was like, this is a lot that just kind of, like, from last week to this week.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, this is a big jump. Like, okay, I mean, and we'll get a flashback to how Trevor died, but, like, also... This is very flashback heavy episode. At one point, even flashing back to like 20 minutes prior, where I'm like, okay, guys, like,
I know.
a little bit more chronological, because that was just a little jarring for me. What did you guys think about, though, Ollie? I know you mentioned about how this kind of thematically being about the resurgence of the 80s and the 80s never dying, and they literally have Bobby show up and say, you know, the whole "what year is this" situation with
His
Montana,
iPhone.
with his phone. What did you think about this whole thing about him interacting, and then later on in the cabin talking with her about like the clothes, the music have come back, but I don't know who Judd. You know,
To be honest, I kind of felt like it was a little rushed. I'm like, going back to it, I kind of feel like we should have had 10 episodes, because I feel like it could have been explained a little more thoroughly in an additional episode. This one, it kind of just seemed like everything was just there. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, oh, Bobby returns and he's already grown. And then it's like, it was like story time, a bunch of flashbacks.
It felt like this should have been the finale episode, but there should have been one in between the
Yes.
last one and this one.
Right.
Yes.
Not like they should have one after this, but there should have
Well,
been.
what would that episode entailed? Like,
I
just
feel
more
like
backstory.
what they could have done is take this episode and take the flashback, put that episode 9, and then take when Bobby actually comes to the camp in episode 10 and kind of just flesh it all out, because in 10 he's also Bobby could explore more with Brooke and Donna, you know, and kind of like, and then have nine just be the. I thought it was gonna be a massacre. I was expecting the massacre.
They kept
of the,
hyping up the damn massacre, and I was like, "There's
I
not
don't
even a freaking
know.
paper cut."
It just felt like they ran out of time. Still very entertaining seeing certain things that we'll talk about later. But shout out to also the chat and everyone tuning in who like predicted that Bobby or Finn was playing Bobby. So shout out to you guys. I didn't even think of that. So you guys are smart. Thank you for being like incredible.
I will say
incredible.
this, and this is me jumping ahead a little bit. We'll dive into this more later, but I will say I was very upset that the chat was incorrect on something that I hoped that they would be right on.
What was it?
What was it?
That everyone thought Evan Peters was actually going to do a psych out and play Billy Idol because he looks just like Billy Idol. As
that
a
would have been
Billy
cool.
Idol.
That would've been
and
cool.
they thought that he would have done like a little quick something, and I almost wonder, because this episode felt so rushed, if maybe originally they had that in, because we never saw Billy at all.
I know.
And
that was a little disappointing.
That was
I really wanted
definitely
to see
disappointing.
Billy
We got no
Idol.
Billy, but we got 2 Bobbies, and I was like, we didn't want either Bobby. I'm glad that we have Finn, but like we didn't ask for Bobby.
Right.
We didn't.
We
No,
didn't want Bobby.
I
We
could
didn't care.
definitely see them kind of doing something like that, because I mean we're not gonna get, you know, Billy, but they did that with Stevie Nicks and Coven, so like I was
But we've
expecting
seen Stevie Nicks.
right, no, totally. So like I was
Like actual
expecting
Stevie,
them to show like
They
that would
spent so much
made
time
sense to show
on Billy Idol.
They kept
like,
bringing it up.
all the time. And
To
even-
not have it
to
be
not have
anything.
him.
Could you imagine like having a scene seeing Richard and Billy like meet or something?
Yeah,
that would have been so
that-
cool.
Didn't like didn't he
Well,
start talking
again,
about
okay,
Billy like
let's
episode
talk
4?
about
Why
Bobby,
give
let's
him
talk
that?
about
He
Bobby.
cared so much about that. Why give it to him, though?
Let's dive in first to Bobby, because we have a whole separate thing about Billy Idol and the concert that was not to be. But let's talk about Bobby first, just to kind of set up what's happening in this episode.
Yeah.
Because he's kind of our through line throughout it.
Mm-hmm.
So he comes back, again, interacts with Montana and Trevor, and is finding out, basically, here's the story. Nobody has seen your dad in 30 plus years. You're coming here for answers. You're not going to find them. Everyone is trying to kill you. It felt very like Roanoke-esque, even like with the torches and everything, like with everybody surrounding the cabin.
Okay.
It seemed like it was a lot of imagery from previous seasons too that was kind of thrown in, but it felt like this was such a reference-heavy episode that the Bobby through line kind of threw me. What did you guys think about it?
Look, I'm trying to think, because I'm like, that does kind of make sense though, because we've seen him go to the asylum. So I don't know. I do kind of see like different pieces of all episodes kind of tied in. I felt asylum vibes. I did feel Roanoke with the massacre, the execution. But I'm like,
Well, even
interesting.
Hotel, didn't they all gang up on Countess or something?
Yeah, the way
So,
the same
right.
stab looked just like Countess. Like this
Wow.
last episode, it seemed like it had scenes from every single season.
Yeah. Now I gotta think of
even
them.
when you go to like the whole scene of when at Murder House, the sad scene when
The house.
the daughter was they were trying to get her back to her body in time so that she
Right.
would become a ghost and not die out on the street. But then yeah, so we even have that whole scene that Trevor like
Damn.
recreated of like you have to get to the property line. We
didn't
saw that
even-
again in Hotel. Kind of the same mirrored thing with
Yeah.
the get to the property line thing.
That's crazy.
So,
I just realized all of that. Wow.
Right.
yeah,
that
it
is
seems
Elena.
like this whole like the Bobby thing. It felt like the whole story was set up just so they could be like, okay, here are the clever ways that we can throw in all these references to all the
Probably.
previous things.
I mean,
You know,
we were asking for that 3 episodes ago for the, so maybe they did. Maybe they were like, well, let's give it to them. So that's possible.
I mean, I don't know.
No, I kind of wanted actual like connections to other seasons rather than paying homage.
Yeah, because it's like other seasons have done such a good job of tying in actual people,
Even if it's just little things.
But yeah, like this one when we could have had Lana and it was like, well, you can't get Lana, so you get Stacy, and that
Knock
might be a
off
hit.
Lana.
And like, yeah, and here's
great
all these
value
other
version.
references. Like, don't forget all the other seasons were
Yeah.
great too.
That's
But
kind of interesting because I'm like, I know people were saying last episode was kind of supposed to be like an Easter egg episode of like what's to come, but I kind of feel like this episode was more of that.
well,
I didn't really get it last
even
episode.
like with and we'll talk about this again when we get into predictions about some of the different references. But some of the Easter eggs that I thought were placed specifically in the asylum scene. This time I was like, this seems like this is more like look at me than anything, and I never know if it's a red herring with Ryan Murphy because half the time it's like, oh, I bet it's this, and he's like,
No,
yeah, you're not even gonna see Billy Idol. Joke's on you. You get like the friggin' like closing the rings moment, and that's it. So enjoy your Pretty Woman moment. Done. But did you feel that this was a storyline that one made sense and that two was a satisfying way to conclude this whole storyline with Jingles? Because I honestly thought that after Jingles was off with his family, like that he had
Done.
crossed the side, was in heaven, and wasn't going to come back. So what did you guys think of this whole thing with Bobby going through, trying to find, having this storyline of trying to retrace all these steps be what brings everybody back?
To be honest, I'm still going back on my point. I feel like it was still too rushed. Like I feel like that if they wanted to dive more into Bobby growing up and now he's coming to find out his dad and how his mom was murdered, I feel like that could have been split into 2 episodes. This one was just kind of here it is. Here's Bobby. Bobby's old now.
Here's Bobby.
Here's Bobby. And he's really cute, too.
Oh my god.
Where'd he come from?
Bobby is definitely a little cutie.
Rock.
Yeah.
It's like, I just wait till you need someone cute.
No, but yeah, so I was like, I don't know. I kind of felt like it could have been a little drawn out a little more. What do you guys think?
I don't know. I was less I don't know. I guess because I had been looking forward to this action for a while. I was just okay with it, but I can see how you guys thought it was a bit rushed. I thought that the ghosts, their motivation was too rushed. I was like, you go from being these killers to good all of the sudden, and they all just team up. I don't know. It was
To
a
kill
little
for
Yeah, in one line. That is a
was-
really good point. Then
yeah.
they're like, the ghosts were easy to turn, and I was like, why though?
I know.
But why? It was easy to change the minds of 40 people.
Right.
40 angry, dead, vengeful ghosts are just oh, wait. This bitch says it, and the guy with the huge
Okay.
dong says it. He got
Right.
shot in the dong. I guess we listen to him.
Also, why did it take them so long to kill Margaret?
I was thinking that too.
Why?
It
Why
took-
did they wait so freaking long to kill Margaret when they could
Why?
have just gotten all together? But you know what? We can all universally agree
Well,
that
that was-
Margaret sucks. Let's just kill her now.
Why did Margaret come back? I was actually mad at that too.
That
I was
the
like,
whole
That was a
thing.
little-
It was because she was trying to get her closure, which is
okay.
that she was dead and hiding out, waiting for something big to happen so that she would have. Because if she just went and was like, "What up, guys? I'm not dead," then they'll just do the same thing they do to Ramirez and just be like, "Well, tie her up and keep stabbing her over and
Yeah.
over too." So I mean, it makes sense that she's like, "Oh, but Bobby's here and all of this was about you. Well, guess what, bitch?
Yeah, no.
You're here to die.
That's funny.
I don't know. I'm kind of here with you guys though. Like it was like, okay, it did seem because
It was cheesy, but it was.
and I
it
liked
was.
how cheesy it is, and I like the 80s cheese. I think the problem to me though was because what?
No, she loved the 80s cheese at the end.
Oh,
Sorry.
the
God,
end,
I
but we'll
know,
talk
we
about
couldn't
that
even,
later.
we couldn't even, I was like, I can't even watch. I'm only watching Alexa dance this.
You guys should have
badass
definitely
Mike
seen
and the
Alexa
Mechanic.
jamming out.
Mike
Loved
and the
it.
It was
Mechanic, like,
awesome.
To Living in the
That
Years.
song.
great. It was
That
great.
song was perfect.
But yeah, I think the issue that I had was because this was all told from Bobby's perspective, and this is the first time we were introduced to Bobby.
Right.
If they had told us this through Donna and Brooke's perspective, and we had gone back to them, like from like the diner scene, like, oh, we're going to kick some ass, and then it was like, okay, here we are left off with these guys, you know, and kept it like the 80s trajectory. I
Right.
think that we would have
Yeah,
been
it was
more
a little
on board.
weird that we left Donna and Brooke and went to. It was jarring. I can agree
because
with
it's
you.
like they had everything be through the perspective of a person that we had not met yet.
Right.
Yeah.
And we really wanted to see Brooke and Donna kick some ass together, and that was so quick.
And it
Yeah.
was it was
like,
kind of like it was almost
like
it
me.
felt like a side story because the main
Yeah.
A story is all about Bobby.
I know.
And I'm like, okay, I gotta be honest though. I feel like Jingle's whole thing is one of the least interesting things.
Yeah.
Like I was like, we're done with that. We're
we're-
wrapped with that.
Yeah, we're
Now
like,
let's
it
focus
seemed-
on these crazy bitches.
It
in
almost
the
seemed like
territory.
after like episode 6, it just turned into all about Jingles.
Yeah.
Like it's like, oh, no, it's Jingles' backstory. But I'm like, if you guys were gonna keep it on Jingles, I kind of felt like Ryan, the ending should have been better. Like it was like, one, he didn't really know his uncle that he got named after. Like that could have been an introduction with the little boy coming back. Like, hey, I'm your Uncle Bobby.
I did wonder
But you know
about
what I
that
mean?
when it was like when he and you assume that the aunt probably talked about this too, but it's like how much did the aunt know about this backstory? Because
Yeah.
this whole moment where he's looking back in this like really meaningful, poignant moment, the big final scene is him looking back at like, oh, my family that's here. And I was like, you don't know Lavanya and you don't know Bobby.
Yeah, and
like
then it was
just some
like,
weird
Lavanya
woman came up and started
also
talking to you and being like,
Lavanya's-
you look like what my kid would look like if he was grown. And he's like, oh, weird.
Also, isn't Lavanya like a terrible mom too?
Yeah.
She is, but then it's like she's a terrible grandma too, because no, hey grandson, like no nothing, no
well,
establishment.
he looks like the son that she loves, Bobby.
Yeah,
so.
and she
She's
keeps
still
Margaret
infatuated on her
away.
son that died versus like, hey, this is my grandson. Let me try to meet him. It was like, hey, you look just like my son.
It's supposed to be like this
What?
poignant thing of like closure and moving on and like the cycle of life. And I was like, I get
like,
that to
was it,
some
though?
degree, but also like logistically, he doesn't know who those mofos are. So
At all.
he's just looking back like,
Hey,
oh, Dad, I'm
Dad,
glad
yeah.
we made friends. It's weird that one of them is a child and it's unexplained, but glad
Like-
you're doing good.
like,
the
'cause how
creepy
did-
lady that's your bro now seems nice.
Because how do we not know that he didn't think that was his mom that got murdered?
What?
Wait, what?
Bobby, remember? Because he was like, my mom got murdered or whatever. So it's like he could have thought Lavanya was like his mom because she never established that was his grandma.
No, because he
No.
knew that she was killed in Alaska. Like he knew,
Oh,
like
okay.
he knew like the logistics of the story, and he'd been doing all the research and everything. And so he showed like, oh, you're Montana Duke, and I know because of your headshot from the aerobic
Okay.
studio, because that's how deep my research is. But again, because it's so rushed and it's these like one little liners to kind of explain it.
Yeah.
Unless you go, I feel like this is one that you would really have to go back and rewatch everything to make sure that the. I will say though, I'm sorry, I know I've just been like, rant. But considering our biggest fault that we found in previous seasons is that they've had all of these kind of open-ended storylines that were never wrapped up. This one I think did a good job of being like, okay, we're not going to open up any other storylines. We're going to make sure everything comes full circle and closes.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But
Everything
now we're
like
kind of
influencers
bitching about how
and
we're like,
Roanoke and,
now
like-
it seems too complete. It seems too happy. You can never win, Ryan Murphy. Just keep making gold. And
I mean,
I'll
my
keep
biggest
telling you
question
I'm
was,
angry.
where is the lunch lady? And they even closed that story for me. So,
But see,
And
no, but
Bertie's
like,
getting some jet lovin', so I was like,
that was so random, guys. Was that not random?
it
I
was random
like,
as hell.
I
But
was
I'm like,
what's happening?
I'm
right
still,
going
I'm
back-
still sad that we didn't get a Chet backstory.
that's what I'm saying. I'm like, going
what
back
was
to
his,
it.
what
we-
was his deal with the Olympics? Why isn't there dead real Rita? What happened to the porn star director? Where's his ghost?
Yeah, where's his ghost?
I wondered about that too. Like, why nobody was like, "Hey, this is a pretty sketchy guy that maybe we shouldn't like be bros with." Like,
and when was Chet sleeping with everybody? Because Birdie said he slept with everybody at camp. So it's like, okay.
I thought he was just gay. I didn't think that he was just like sleeping with everyone. Like,
but then on top of
free
that,
love.
I'm kind of mad we didn't get a backstory on Birdie. It was
Bye,
like
Birdie.
you know what I mean? Like, whatever happened to Birdie? How'd she end up there? Bye, Birdie. How'd she end up there? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
That got me, Elena. most of the puns that you've done this whole season have just been like, Elena, no.
They keep us going.
But that one got me.
But Bye Birdie is the one that gets you. It only took 9
It just
episodes.
tickled me. Anyway.
That
Oh
was
Lord!
adorable.
Can we also talk about how Trevor got shot in the junk?
Yeah,
dingle?
so let's go
Dang.
ahead. We'll go. Before we move on to the next topic, are you guys done with Bobby the Bobby story?
Yes,
Okay.
please.
Let's stop. Let's move on.
Sorry,
Actual
Finn. We love you, but no
Halloween,
Bobby.
The B storyline, Halloween 1989, what actually went down on the day. So, yeah, we have this whole thing left off last episode of like, what's going to happen to Trevor? And then we are like, well, I guess he's dead because here's his reincarnated ghost that's just slit his own throat.
Right.
They finally say, okay, this is what happened. So apparently,
He's just
Courtney told Trevor what was up, and Trevor was like, well, this cannot stand. I'll block the road, and I'll be a good guy.
Well, he had already made a decision that he wanted to stay in the 80s forever and wanted to be with Montana.
Yeah,
so, like,
but it's like, but this whole thing about like, okay, well, Trevor's gonna be the hero. I'm like, from episode 1, if you had been like, Trevor's the one that'll save Billy Idol,
I would have
I'd be like,
laughed.
Get out of here.
I would have laughed.
I'm like, Trevor's dong? Did Trevor's dong save Billy Idol? No.
actually, technically, yeah.
Kind of it did.
Kind of, it did.
A little bit.
It did
little
because
bit.
Billy never made it to the camp because.
Yeah, because Trevor. But it's also like he sent Billy away before he was shot in the dick.
I guess that is
That's
true.
what you say on the show.
We never seen him pull up to the camp in his tour bus.
I can't believe they
but we
showed
have-
that. They showed it.
You lost your mind.
I was
when
like,
you were watching
oh my
it too. You were like, they
goodness.
just shot him right in the wing.
That was the thing that got me. This whole season is really, really gory.
the blood that
Yeah,
was coming
camp
out.
without hot dogs. You gotta.
Oh, weenie roast.
It's Trevor, you know, like she really went for it. She got him where it hurts, you know.
Yeah. Well, he also this whole time has been known for his huge, enormous
That's what I'm saying.
personality. What did you guys think about this too? About how Margaret literally shoots the messenger and shoots Courtney when Courtney says, like, "Hey, so
I
Trevor's
told-
blocking the road."
I didn't even catch that.
My
That's
guy-
a good
yeah,
one.
like
Shoots the
literal
messenger.
Shoots the messenger. Like, don't shoot the messenger. And she's like, I do what I want. I'm Margaret. I'm literally going to shoot you now. And then this whole thing with her shooting Trevor and Trevor's trying to get back and Brooke.
Oh, good old Brooke.
What
Good
did
old
you
Brooke.
I mean, this was kind of like the big moment. And it was Brooke just being like, oh, I guess I'll be helpful because I'm not like you. Like, what did
She
you guys
just showed
think
up out of the
this?
abyss, like I don't know. She just climbed out of the bushes. Hi,
Oh, hey.
I'm gonna save you.
It was to tie up her and Montana. It was to redeem Montana. It was to say Brooke is not like everybody else. She's the good girl. Like, I don't know. It was just all like, meh.
Oh, you know what I thought about? How you were saying that, like, it was kind of random how everybody was just, like, killer ghosts, and then all of a sudden they turned nice. Maybe
Yeah.
that was kind of, like, now that I just caught this one, but I'm like, maybe that, like, Brooke and her kind of having that moment of reconnecting, that's when she was like, oh, you know what? Like, maybe I can be good.
Well, that's what
'Cause,
she
you know?
says. in
Yeah,
the
that's what she
episode.
said.
She
So
was
it's
like,
like,
"This
Literally
is the turning
says it.
point episode," and this
Yeah.
is like, she was like, "It was that moment that made me change, and that's what helped me convince all the other ghosts." But I'm like, the other ghosts don't give a shit about Brooke.
No.
So
Yeah.
why are they like,
Except Ray.
"Cool, Montana,
Except Ray.
like great that you got all grown up, but also we were so violently murdered and we're pissed." Like,
No.
yeah.
I don't know.
I think Brooke just looked amazing.
I know,
Like, that
she always
outfit
does, though.
was
Don't
banging.
bring
same ass jacket though.
I
Did
think
you
it-
notice
yeah.
that?
I think honestly the moment was like the past doesn't define you as a person. You can look beyond it. You don't have to be like, people have hurt me, so I have to hurt people. You can just
Right.
say,
Hurt
you know
people, hurt
what?
people.
Yeah, I can break the cycle right here and right now. I'm gonna be better. You know, I'm gonna be above it all. You know what I mean? Sorry about that, Ryan. But seriously, that's really what it
Murphy.
is.
We're apologizing to Ryan
Yes,
Murphy,
Ryan Murphy, no.
not to Ryan in the booth.
But that's really what it was trying to say, and whatever. We needed to give Brooke her shining moment. So I guess that was it.
But I'm like dragging a body so it can die closer, so that it's like so the person who
It was very
killed
Titanic,
you,
by the way. It was so cool watching Montana be like, Jack, no, never let go. And he's like,
Yeah, it was very Titanic, like that scene where she's like, "Don't take the best dick I've ever had, ocean."
It was literally a Titanic. I just kept on thinking it's a Titanic moment. And
What did you think, Ollie?
Well, I'm just thinking about Trevor's dick. Well, what's left of it?
What's left of it?
I guess my whole thing with the whole scene, I think it kind of just represents how men aren't like the stars of horror films. I think women have always been stars of horror films, and I think, it's funny how you talked about him trying to be the hero. It's like, no, Brooke's the hero or Donna's the hero. The episode's called The Final Girl, so I think it was like as silly and goofy as it was. He was showing his dick in a sense for trying to do something that he wasn't capable of doing. This is for the final girls. This isn't for you, Trevor. Sorry, bye. You're dead. But yeah, I just thought Brooke and Donna were just badass in this episode, despite them not getting a whole lot of screen time. I wanted to see them more in 1989, but
Yeah, we were following them the whole time, and we were waiting for this moment where they come back and just like take on the
Like
camp
Charlie's
and
Angels
and
type of
kill
vibe.
Margaret.
Thelma and Louise moment,
Yeah,
and then they
like
were just
something.
like, "No, we got split up, and
I
Brooke's
wanted
dragging
more.
bodies." And
Brooke lives in Oregon now.
because I love their relationship, Donna and Brooke's relationship, and I wanted to explore that more because they seemed more closer than they really were.
well, I mean, the fact that Brooke lived, this was what was weird to me, was in this whole scene of like, okay, we're killing Margaret, like we're fighting her now, and here's how Margaret actually dies, is that first we have Donna attack, and then Brooke saves her, but ultimately Brooke is shot.
Yeah.
And Ray goes and saves her by bringing her to pass out on the thing. The whole thing that didn't make sense to me was I was like, okay, so then he says, so somebody at the camp must have called the hospital.
It was
because
Ray.
they woke up in
I think it was
white
Ray.
room.
It had to be Ray.
Oh.
But what
Had
I'm
to
sitting
be.
here going, okay, but wouldn't Rita, aka Donna, have seen an ambulance and all of this stuff coming to the
That's
camp
true.
since she's the only living person left?
This is
That's
true.
true.
Like, wouldn't she have been like, oh, Brooke is clearly alive?
Yeah, where the
because-
hell did she go?
Or maybe she just disappeared before that happened. I'm not sure.
or aliens.
I mean,
I mean that's predictions, but I think that was something that was really like.
We have a bunch of people saying
Yeah,
aliens in the
everybody's-
chat.
Yeah,
Thank you,
'cause they're
chat.
Like, woke up in a white room and everyone's like, aliens!
Also,
it's
no,
aliens!
you bring up a good point too because. Oh.
That was my
That's just
alien.
We're being invaded. No, but that's interesting how Donna never brought up the fact that thinking Brooke's dead, she never brought up the fact of because she visited Redwood, right? Didn't she visit? She continued to visit there, and she never saw. You would think that she would mention like her never seeing like Brooke's ghost or interested in not seeing Brooke's ghost at Redwood.
I don't know. You go in with another girl to go kill this woman, right? And she dies. You don't turn around and go back and get the body
Yeah.
of the girl that you
Yeah.
came to the camp with and like try to save her or see what's going on there. You just
There's
leave?
so many unanswered questions. Like, there's so many
Disappear?
gaps in between the stories.
That's the only thing that didn't make sense to me was
That
I
was
was like,
a little
okay.
weird.
And you know what else I caught? Jonas is on the outside and the inside of camp. Like, what's up with Jonas? We still didn't get any
Jonas?
type of story with Jonas.
He can go like just within like the camp limits. He goes out to the road that's still within like the Redwood limits, apparently. So it's like, but the weird thing is you're right. They have
Like-
established that the Redwood property line
Yeah.
is now in a different place.
Yeah.
Because of the whole Trevor moment. And it honestly seemed like they established that just so they could have the Murder House Hotel callback
Right.
of like,
Yeah.
make sure you're over this invisible line.
Why were they grinding up Margaret too? They were grinding her up to like spew her stuff over
over the fence so that
the
she
lines.
wouldn't be
But like it didn't
caught.
work at
Yeah.
all.
Because she said she
Well-
died before they like finished her body.
I
in
know,
the
but
she's
like,
later.
what was that mentality? Like, we're gonna spew. I don't
They
know,
were
it was
like,
just
we really need a
weird.
Fargo
Like you
reference,
couldn't,
so-
your worst
possible way.
you couldn't move the wood chipper just a little bit
The
closer.
worst possible way to
know.
kill her, but yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it was violent and disgusting.
It was.
It was
It was
awesome.
definitely-
It was a great
like-
execution.
You can say they all had a piece of Margaret.
Oh, look at you.
I didn't even get a sound effect. That didn't even
Oh,
count.
come on
No,
now.
I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding.
Everyone was after their pound of flesh, and they actually got it. on
that was
their
good.
bodies.
Very good. I will say though,
The
I
black
was a
back's
little
pretty
disappointed that it was cool. Everyone kind of got their piece, like I said, but I kind of wanted it to be either Donna or Brooke to be the one to kill Margaret or something. I wasn't.
She tried.
I wasn't. She tried. I wasn't satisfied with Montana kind of cutting her head off. You know, like I don't know. Something about it just.
It should have
I
been
don't
Brooke.
know. It should
Someone-
have been. Give her that.
Jingles
run.
for crying out loud. Why
Somebody.
didn't- you know, Jingles. She's the reason why Jingles' life went astray, and he was in the,
Jingles is still stuck on. He's
Or-
turned over a whole
Or
new leaf.
Bobby.
Like,
You're bringing Bobby here. Maybe Bobby could have killed
Bobby's
her. or
just a
something.
tool.
I'm like,
No.
don't turn Bobby into a murderer. 'Cause
Right.
That's the whole thing where it's like he's
They're
the
all
only one
murderers.
that's not dead. Yeah, but
Every
it's
single
like,
one of them are
he's
murderers.
alive and
Bobby's
not killing.
Bobby's literally a plot device.
I
Like,
know.
it's, you know, it's kind of.
Bobby's
It was nice.
traumatized.
It was nice seeing
I
Finn.
just honestly, Montana killing her was really
Yeah, because
silly.
it was like, look, I love Billy Lord, but we've
Right.
closed this storyline
Yeah.
out. Like, she lives forever with a huge D that, like, she's really
She's
stoked on.
satisfied. She's
fine.
happy.
In every
Lives
sense of the
forever.
word,
Yes,
she's fine.
she's great.
She's good. She can
She
feel
is.
eating emotions like love. Like, I was like, God, that's
Like
still
literally
gets me
anybody
so
else.
bad they say that.
Have Chet kill Margaret.
I mean, give him
That
something.
would
best
have
you're
made
gonna
sense.
Honestly,
Give him some purpose.
Give him
I was a
something.
little. Everyone kind of
Something.
got some kind of closure except for him,
It
and
was
I'm like,
basically
why was
just
he there?
He was like, because the Winter Olympics aren't for a while, and I need something to do in the summertime. So
Like,
I go to
what
camp.
was his backstory, dude? I'm gonna be upset about that. For
you just
so-
really love
The
Chet.
only thing
right?
that really came out was just like the Birdie
Yeah, but that-
pointed out the fact that he was gay. That was like
was
the
just-
only thing. We
We're
thought
like,
he was trans.
We're like, we know.
We thought he was
Oh,
transgender,
yeah, we did.
but we
did
were like, I
first.
mean, now we just know that Chet was gay.
But like
that
how,
was it.
or like bisexual, like why is
Oh, yeah,
being,
bisexual,
why is
I'm
why
sorry,
is
yeah.
being bisexual? Be proud of being bisexual, but it's like why is bisexual? That's not funny. Like it's like don't laugh at someone being bisexual.
I'm hilarious.
Like I don't know. I was just disappointed. Like
Yeah.
I wanted to know more about some of these characters. And
I did too.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I mean, there was some that I was like, okay, we introduced a lot of awesome people, and then the fact that he was the only one that didn't get a backstory. I was
Right.
like, I mean,
And Birdie. I'm
And
like, at least
Birdie.
like Birdie, Jonas, and Chet are still question marks.
so in other words, we have a guess about Gus.
I do
Hey,
for sure.
All right. Yeah, I feel like they should have dove into that a little bit more. But I did like that everybody, got to join in on their killing spree together, and it was a group killing activity that then even transcends to Ramirez. What did you guys think about this? Of the
Whatever
whole
happened
thing
to him?
of like we're killing Ramirez, and now we have to just keep stabbing him over and over again.
It's
But
like
then, at
Groundhog
the
Day,
end,
but
yeah.
murder style.
But then at the end, it's like, so what is the conclusion with that? Like, now
Yeah.
Ramirez is alive and fine because Satan is like, now you're flesh and blood, so walk
Right.
away from the camp. So now we have a serial killer in 2019 that we thought was gone in the 80s. What did you do?
yeah, I don't know. It was a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm like,
I
when we
like it
showed
'cause it
up,
means he could come back. We could see Zach Villa as Ramirez again because he's technically still out there, right? Am I wrong?
Shouldn't we have killed him though? Because that's
I kind of
the whole
don't want to
point.
see him next
Yeah.
year. So like, I'm like,
He can
leave
stay
Ramirez.
Kill
would,
Stay in the
please.
80s,
He's got
Ramirez.
plenty of screen time. I think let him die. Let
Yeah.
him die at Redwood in the 80s. Well, not the 80s anymore, but yeah. I was expecting more with the whole storyline of being like, where was Satan and like what was that like the purpose of that other than him? Like I thought there was going to be more of a payoff of rather him just constantly coming back.
Right.
I thought there was going to be more
Yeah.
explanation or maybe more of a backstory with
Instead
him
of
for
just like
crying
a
out
happy
loud.
death day, like nod
Right.
to that. I
Yeah.
was like, y'all are putting in every
Which was
movie that
enjoyable.
you've seen.
It was enjoyable. I feel like we're shredding this, like we're shredding Margaret. But like I like the episode. Don't get me wrong, everyone. But yeah,
I kind
don't
of
know.
feel with a lot of these deaths that we could have just left them where they were. Like a lot of these people didn't need to come back.
Because a lot of them is re-killing ghosts.
Yeah, it was just kind of
So
like,
it's like, we've already seen you die.
now we're
million
gonna see
times.
Like,
A
yeah, now we're
lot.
seeing you die 16 other times, and it's like, this is a little
because just
excessive.
the whole big thing was like, okay, here's the big moment. Here's the big moment. It's this festival. What is this massacre gonna be? And then it was just like within the first third of the episode was like, don't worry about that. That's not a thing anymore.
Did you guys notice that, like, when Finn walked through, like, the concert and campgrounds, like, it just looked, like, demolished, but then it was, like, no concert ever happened though. But then it was like all the killing happened like on the trail, so it was like nobody was really where the main stage area type of was. So how it was like all the banners sliced and like all type of stuff.
weird.
It was like,
It's just later.
maybe over
vandals
time, like
assumed. Yeah,
maybe
it's
just
like
over time they
raccoon heads
deteriorated.
that
It was
showed up.
raccoons. When in doubt, it was raccoons. Everyone, they are very.
If they would have left like Ramirez in that like death purgatory where they just kept on killing him over and over again, like maybe that would have. I mean, I feel like that would have sufficed for me. At least like he's not out. He's just dying over and over. He's just experiencing pain for the rest of his life. So, for everybody that he's ever killed and all the hearts that he broke with all the deaths that he carried out throughout the years, like maybe that would have been his version of hell that they could have just. Yeah.
You know what I just realized? That was even a freaking reference to Coven, where they had the hell, their purgatory, where they had to relive their worst moment, like over and over and over, and keep coming back. That was almost like a veiled reference to that.
They should have left
you,
him.
you clever beasts.
They should have left him. Honestly, they should have left him dying over and over and
Well,
over
but
again.
the whole thing was that it was like he had to get out, so that it was like, now Bobby's in trouble. So Jingles better show up. Oh no.
I know, but then kept him in.
And I also was like, I love that his name is Mr. Jingles, and the day after Halloween, it's like, focuses on Jingles. And I'm like, is this a Christmas reference? Is this like the second Halloween is over? Y'all are all on Christmas? Is this you veiled, like a veiled way of being like, slow your roll, Santa?
The asylum, and then I think that's the last time we saw. I assume that they have him under wraps at some point. I don't know. I would like to think so, but
That
like
they were able to
but like the
get
whole
him
group
back.
ganged up on Richard is all I'm saying at the end. And then he went to the asylum. He eventually came back, and then we just never
they may
saw.
have tied him back
Yeah,
up. They may still be on duty.
everyone was there, and then Richard. We
Yeah.
just never saw Richard again. So I would like to think that.
That he's just gonna keep getting murdered over and over and over in a
Absolutely,
violent,
as-
horrible way.
Did y'all catch the Goonies not Goonies, Princess Bride reference? You're Margaret Booth. You
Yes.
framed my father.
Yes.
Prepare to die.
They had so many, which we actually do you guys just want to go ahead and head into our special segment and
Our
talk
80s.
about, or do you want to talk about any last thoughts about the episode before we dive into the references specifically?
I mean, the 80s will never die. Goonies never say die. So there was that 80s reference.
no,
love
before
the
we
Goonies.
dive into our special segment, do you have any thoughts on the episode?
Sorry.
That was a very good one, though.
My
I
last
like
note
it.
is I'm still out here with unanswered questions, but I'm slightly
I
satisfied.
did write down Margaret says a very, very similar line to what Ray said in episode 1 about how does anyone really know anyone like in LA.
Yeah.
Margaret said that exact same thing, so it kind of came full circle. And I think that the season did kind of reinvent some certain stereotypes and whatnot, especially with being like the final girl. Like, why do we always have to have one final girl? Why not two? And why not one of color? And why it's really redefining. So what the show I think is doing, and Ryan Murphy and his team and casting some of these people, these phenomenal actors, I think is really redefining, television as well, because there's so much more representation and so much more themes that aren't being explored. So that's the last. Despite all our criticism and our shredding of the episode and constructive criticism, we still love the show regardless.
And I genuinely still loved this episode. I thought
Right.
it was great. But I think that is a very, very good point, because Ryan Murphy is really kind of trying to circumvent this recurring theme of women having to be in competition with each other. And we see it throughout horror movies. We know he has the whole show Feud dedicated to it, like this recurring theme. And the one person who is trying to make it a competition and be the only final girl, who even says, I am the final girl, I'm always the final girl, I win, is the one who ends up getting decapitated and thrown into a wood chipper. Whereas the two that work together, even though it is still questionable as to why they did not find each other after 30 years. It's like, all right, thematically, story-wise, I feel you, but logistically, whatever.
Yeah.
But because they work together, they both were the final girl. It's this whole idea of there can only be one, and
Putting
tearing
aside
that
their
down.
differences.
Yeah, and being like, if we work together, then we can unite and make something even better, which I
agree.
love.
I agree with all the stereotypes. And what is that test called when
Bechtel test.
Yes, I was like, is it the Bacchanal test? I knew it started with a B, but it's about any two women in a scene, you have to make sure they're not talking about men. If they're not talking about men, they pass the test. And Rita and Brooke pass this test. I mean, the test is set in place to make sure that women and female characters aren't just pawns to men.
It's sad because there are so few things that actually pass the
I know,
Bechdel test,
and this
where
does.
It's just there are two female characters with names.
Yes, with names.
Who
With
talk
names.
about something
That doesn't relate
about
a guy.
man. Yeah.
In any
and
way.
It, very, very few things pass the
Yeah.
Bechdel test, and it is
I've
very
never heard of that.
Yeah,
Wow.
it's great. I always
Yeah.
watch things with that in mind. I'm like, okay,
You're
you
like-
got two females on screen. Let's see if they're talking about a guy. If they are, then I'm just like,
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this show
interesting.
does a great job of like,
Yeah.
being like, what up, Bechdel test? We aced you.
Bechdel is
Bechdel.
Bechdel test.
Wow.
Huh. Even though the end was kind
words.
of, even though the end with Bobby and the family was kind of weird, it was still like a little tearjerker, a little.
It was
It got a little
sweet.
sad,
It
even
was
with the song,
sweet.
even you jamming out, even the song that came in. I was like, oh, this is a perfect little
I
moment.
liked it. I thought this was a really, really good, solid episode.
Yeah.
And it did, again, have a lot of different references. So for the last time ever, the 80s / Brooke.
I mean, mine weren't really the
that karate
horror
chops?
ones. Like,
We're like, doing the
and I don't think
robot. Doing the robot.
I don't think Princess Bride came out in the 80s, did it? Or the
Yes.
brink
It was
of
like
the 80s.
late 80s, 89, I think.
89.
Was The Princess Bride a horror movie?
No. See, that's
Like,
what
I've
I'm
never
saying.
seen
Like,
it. Like, I've
the
never seen
references
it.
I got
But there
were
were
like
some that weren't even horror
Right.
movies. It was
yeah,
just
Goonies
like 80s references. Yeah.
I love the Goonies.
But I
and-
mean, like, yeah, they had so many throughout
Princess
that are
Bride.
not like that are just time period
Yeah,
references.
and that's what I loved the most about this whole season was the 80s.
They did have though that one, the badass Fargo moment, which when Finn first passed by the wood chipper at the beginning, I was like, "Who did they kill in a wood chipper?" I was
Right.
like, "Did they have a Fargo moment that I missed?" And they were like, "Nah, bitch, this is foreshadowing." That's what's up.
Yes. 2019.
But did you also catch the misery moment?
Yes, I was
Yes,
thinking
with
that. I was like,
Sledgehammer.
Yeah.
Ray. I was like, oh my God, Kathy Bates. And it's so funny, Kathy Bates has been on the show, so I was like
Yeah.
so happy that she caught
I
that.
caught
thought
that
that
too.
was so awesome with the Kathy Bates moment specifically because it was like, oh, if she's not going to be in this season,
Right.
then they at least
I
have the
love
reference
Misery.
to her.
Definitely top 10, like top 5.
So good.
I love
I
that.
love
So I was
Misery.
like, do you guys just have this whole thing just so we can like kill Ramirez
Yeah.
in fun ways that remind us of other things? That,
Other 80s
other
horror
80s
movies.
references. I feel like there was another one too that I'm forgetting that they had the Scream reference with like the phone cut out and the lights.
with Margaret in the cabin.
Yeah.
And then the misery moment that they had. So they had, I mean, they had
quite a few.
some good stuff this episode. It was a lot
Like,
of
overall,
like,
that was at
gems.
least maybe like 10, 15 movies that was kind of referenced throughout the whole
Yeah.
season.
Maybe even more.
And
Or
some-
even now, like maybe
Some
even more,
great music.
Oh my goodness, the soundtrack.
Real good music. Alexa.
Some good bops in there,
Oh,
guys.
I
yes.
gotta say, actually, if Ryan, if you could have the living years from Mike and the Mechanics just
Please.
queued up and ready for
Dude,
our
these
outro,
lyrics though are so on point.
Stay
It was
for the
perfect
whole
for the
episode
ending.
because it
I'll
will
do a little
end with
bop.
Alexa bopping.
Dude, I don't think I've heard that song in years. So just the fact that it came back, and I was like, oh, this is. And again, the lyrics are perfect. I mean, he's talking about not holding on to your father's past, like letting go your family history, all
That
that
song was like, oh,
stuff.
this is
so
sad.
it's good. You know, it's exactly what they were trying to tie up that bow with, and I thought it was perfect. Every single song that they used this whole season
Was
was
perfect.
spot on.
so
and
good.
so whoever
Perfect.
did the sound design or
The score,
honestly was amazing.
Man, I love too that the whole thing is about like you can never outrun your problems, and they start with "Flock of Seagulls." I ran, and I was like, "Get out of here! Get out of here! It's too good." But we also had a little bit of news this week as well, right?
AfterBuzz TV News.
So if you guys have not been following Billie Lourd on Instagram, please follow her and watch all of her amazing videos. She's been posting a video for every week. So for the finale, she posted a whole collection of some of her favorite photos and things from throughout the season. So that was pretty cool. There was also the news that everybody had that ended up being incorrect that we alluded to a little bit of people thinking that Evan Peters was going to be
Oh yeah, Billy.
making a Billy idol. Oh yeah, here's Billie Lourd's Instagram. So that's her very first costume fitting was the first photo to all the way to what turned in what Montana became. Yeah, she rocks out, man. There's like her and Ray just telling everybody to go F themselves.
The dog.
The dog. I love it. Their shoots were at
BFF
like
the heater.
Yeah,
Damn.
at
Dang, 2
2:45
in the morning.
Yeah.
Woo.
I'm sure they had some
5:15,
really long
yeah, they
night
had
shoots.
because most of them of
Oh,
the
have
shoots
to be
were
at night, yeah.
It was all nighttime shoots, so their call times would normally be at about 2:00 in the morning, and then they would shoot all the way
Damn.
through. That's nuts
That
to
is
me.
nuts, but they probably had a
Get
great
that
time.
money.
I feel like they had a really fun time shooting
I think
that.
it was
Oh, for
really,
sure.
really good. But that brings us to our final predictions.
Your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
All right, guys, what are we thinking? What are we thinking for next season? What do we think that the theme is going to be?
The aliens are taking over.
You're going aliens?
I am.
Oh, I don't know. I really just don't know. Aliens.
I feel like it's gonna be like an apocalypse tie-in, but then it's gonna go into like aliens.
It's
but
the
I'm
end
like,
of their world
yeah.
instead of the end of our world.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Ooh.
The apocalypse for a different planet, and now they gotta go somewhere.
One.
Maybe
And they all look like Finn Whitrock.
Oh my. That wouldn't be so bad.
I would be like,
guess.
I want to live on your planet. I'm so excited to blow up.
Maybe. Yeah. I'm like, I don't know. Actually, I like diversity. Never mind. I like to agree with both of you. Or wait, did you say aliens? Well, I agree with Kayla that I think aliens. I've been saying this for the very first episode.
have.
Aliens.
You have.
I'm interested in knowing how they would explore aliens and whatnot.
know.
Especially, I don't know if we're gonna go back into like the present day just because of apocalypse and kind of like what happened there. So I don't know how they're gonna tie that all in. So I just don't know exactly what time frame they would be in and what would make the most sense, I suppose.
People have also had kind of like a time travel illusion.
Oh,
They thought that
no.
time travel might be something. I'm with you guys. I think that it's definitely aliens, especially after talking to Ryan Murphy at the 100th episode celebration.
Ooh, inside knowledge.
Yeah, I specifically asked about the aliens. And I was like, point blank. We've loved some
the
things,
aliens
but there have
coming?
been some things that have been set up that some fans want some more of, like Asylum, the aliens. Are we ever going to revisit that storyline? He's like, everybody's so obsessed with these damn aliens. And I'm like, we are, though. And he's like, he basically said at that time they had a few ideas of what the next season was going to be, but hadn't solidified a specific one. But there were going to be little Easter eggs that were hidden in for what it was going to be. I think that you guys are right. I think that it is going to be aliens, mostly because the whole Stacy thing of the reporter who came in and how it felt so kind of almost jarring. It didn't feel like it fit within the episode. And because that was supposed to be last episode, there was supposed to be like some sort of reference to what it was going to be, the Easter eggs. I think it's because she was saying the 70s were all about aliens, the Loch Ness Monster, these, kind of more
Cryptids. And
otherworldly things, like the urban legend type things. And since we even got a direct reference to urban legends with the gang high beam initiation, which was the whole conversation that felt like it was out of left field, which is like, why are you talking about this gang high beam initiation? Like, what is this? That is a direct reference to the movie Urban Legends. So I think that it's actually going to be a variety of urban legends and all, including aliens, but not limited to.
Okay.
And that all of next season is going to be urban legend based. It's going to be Bigfoot, the Loch Ness Monster, aliens, all
Urban legends. That would be
Interesting.
really cool.
And I think that the reference was the gang high beam initiation quote, because that was the whole big thing. If you haven't seen Urban Legends, again, I mentioned this before, but like Rebecca Gayheart, like bringing it. Watch it. It's good.
Ooh,
But I
that's a
think
good
that
prediction.
I think that it's Urban Legends.
I like that,
That'll be
especially since
interesting.
past seasons have explored urban legends. Like, let's dedicate a whole season to that.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm already thinking like, ooh, maybe like a traveling like show that's like ghost hunters or something like that. But yeah, I like
we saw
that.
it kind of like in Roanoke.
Right.
And
With the
what I was
influencers.
thinking
But
was
let's-
kind of the big. Oh God, I
No.
know. Friggin' again.
It's gonna be like a Scooby-Doo wagon of influencers, and they're like, "We're gonna go
Put all
catch
the phone.
Bigfoot."
I did like this episode too when Montana's like, "Can I keep your phone?" He's like, "No."
Yeah. She's like, "What is this?"
But yeah, that's what I think. And what I also think the reference this episode was when he was in the asylum, when he was waiting, like at Redwood, they did this big pan in. The 3 magazines next to him were Elegance, which seemed to be a reference to a hotel, a kitchen renovation, which seems to be a murder house, and then a men's health thing that seemed to be like the tie. So I feel like it's going to be the asylum, like tie-in with the freak show and all of like all of those things kind of connected. Because it felt like it was all kind of like references to different things from previous seasons.
Okay.
But
I
maybe
like
I'm
that.
reading
No.
too much into it.
You're
I don't
very
know.
astute. Like, damn, we got Nancy Drew over here.
Oh, wait, before we leave you guys, let's do our final little shout outs to our chat. You guys have been in here just talking away.
Ooh.
I've seen all your comments. Let me shout out. Let me go scroll up a little bit.
Aliens.
I know everybody's saying aliens. Shout out to Gracie and Ryan, Scott Gropey, Jessica and Dennis, Ryan Nilsson, 911 Mommy, Nicholas
R. Ryan.
Nicholas Kelly for always staying in here, Lieutenant Blanco, Billie Jean Girl 24. You guys have always been in here. I've always seen those names. Shout out to you guys for staying consistent and always supporting us. We truly appreciate it.
Thank you guys so
let me
much.
see. Pearl Forrester, John Moyne, Bees Trap, Kimberly, Shady Mayfield. You guys have been amazing. And
All right, here we go.
The
Here's the
sad
moment.
music.
All right.
The sad music. It's all aliens. Thank you guys for all your predictions as well.
Yes.
Oh,
Everybody, keep
die.
rocking. Alexa, show me your
Take it
moves.
away, Alexa.
Kill see eye to eye.
Yes, guys, we're gonna miss you so much. We cannot wait until next season. Keep keeping the 80s alive.
Keep
by
'em
telling
alive.
stories.
Absolutely.
Where can everybody keep up with you to hear your stories?
You can
Alexa.
find me on Instagram at Alexa Cappy, CAPPY.
Yes, you guys keep up with us. It's going to be a long year. But
know.
stay tuned with all of us. You guys can follow me on Instagram at @the_Kayla Renee and on Twitter at Catching K, and that's catching with a K.
Yes, and you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Ollie Dreamer.
And you can find me on Twitter at Elena Jordan and on Instagram at Elena J. Jordan. And you can also catch me every week on MEA Worldwide, interviewing some of your favorite celebrities. It's MEAWW.com. Until next time, guys.
Aw,
thank you
mwah,
so
mwah.
much. We love you. Mwah, keep killing it.
Our founder, Keven Undergaro, and me, Maria Menounos, would like to thank you for tuning in to AfterBuzz TV. Remember, we're not just the first, we're the biggest in the world, and we're the only destination for all your favorite TV shows. Whatever you crave, we've got it. So go to AfterBuzzTV.com and check out our lineup. Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.